Why does that matter to me? The STAR method does not talk about that, right? That is not to bash on the STAR method. It's a tried and true method. In fact, it's considered to be one of the most classic, proven ways to tell a good summary, right? Comes up with a very nice standard response that you could use for pretty much any interview setting. But it can also be seen as being too procedural, because now when you guys get into the position of hiring people, you guys would know exactly what stage of the STAR method that person is in. Because they are going to start off by saying, so when I was in grade 12, when I was in my 4th year, I was doing this and I had to do this task. And then what I did was this. I took action, and then this happened, right? So you would be able to tell exactly where people's minds are, and that bores people. It's too procedural. And it doesn't talk anything about the emotional depth or the values that you have or the insights that you have gained, and thus it's less memorable if you were to just stick with the STAR method and just leave it at that. Remember, hiring is a social decision, right? So we want to be memorable. We want to be remembered. We want people to remember our stories so that when and if they forget our names, at least they will be able to say, oh yeah, who's that guy who started a garlic business by himself and who made thousands of dollars just by doing that in high school? Let me look that up. Oh yeah, it was Jason. Sorry, I'm still using that name. Okay? So we can kind of agree that the STAR method is pretty bland, right? It's just like raw pasta, white rice, chicken noodle soup. Not that tasty, it's pretty bland. That's why you need a little something, a little oomph in it, so that it'll be memorable, so that it'll be tasty, so that people actually want to listen to your story, right? And like I said, you guys are probably not going to remember anything about what I do and what I've done so far. You guys are probably not going to remember my name, but there's one thing that I really want you guys to remember at the end of this class, and regardless of what happens at the end of this course, I hope that you guys are going to remember what I'm about to share with you right now. Okay? So remember, the little oomph, the little something that you should always add to your STAR method is WTF. WTF, what does that stand for? Don't say it. Don't say it. It's not what you think it is. All right? I want you to remember WTF, even if you don't remember my name. What is WTF? Okay? When you listen to a bad interview answer, something that's boring as hell and you're not going to give them a position or a second chance afterwards, what is it missing? It's missing the human element, the human layer of your response. Okay? And that's what WTF is. It's about what you want. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? That's what makes you human. And that's what WTF is. Okay? So we always need STAR plus WTF. So W, what did you want in that situation? We're just thinking about any stage of the STAR method right now. Okay? You could be setting the stage. You could be taking some action. You could be looking at the final results. What did you want in that situation? We are talking about your goals, your desires, your values, your hopes, and your ambitions. Anything that you had in your mind that keeps you going, that motivates you, that wanted or that made you want to take part in this activity in the first place. Because without it, who cares? If you started a business club somewhere, who cares? We care about why you started that business club. What did you want to do with that business club? If you started your own business as a high school student, we don't care what kind of business it is. We don't care how much money you made because you're not giving me that money. We care about why you did that. What are your values? What made you want to do that, and does that matter to me? That's what matters, right? That's what want is. What's the next one? What comes after W? T. You can say it out loud. T. What were you thinking in that moment? And this is me just genuinely asking. This is not me being angry at you, like, what are you thinking? Right? This is really asking, what were your initial thoughts going into this challenge? What were your beliefs? And if that belief has changed or it has been challenged, how did your thoughts change? This usually happens throughout the midway of your story, right? Throughout the action, throughout the results stage. We want to know not only what happened in that moment, but what were you thinking in that moment? Because that's what matters. We want to know more about you, not the incident. If we wanted to know about the incident, we would have an incident report, right? We want to know if there were any misunderstandings with your colleagues, if there were any conflicts of interests, if there were any different ideas or different beliefs that clashed with one another. That's the meat, that's the juiciness, and that's the human element that's missing in all of your stories. And what comes after T? Everyone's favorite, F. WTF. How did you feel in that moment? Right? Emotions matter. And for those of you, especially men, if you're in your very first or first couple of relationships, this is going to be very important for you because feelings matter. It's not about providing a solution to the other partner. It's about listening to them, finding out what matters to them. How did you feel? How did that make you feel? Oh my God. That's what matters. And if you don't do that, what happens? Oh my God, are you even listening to me? I didn't even want a solution. I just wanted to talk about my day. You're not even listening to me, right? That's why feelings matter. The same thing happens with your stories. Emotions before the fact. How did you feel going into the challenge? How did you feel when it didn't work out? How did you feel at the end of the story when things either worked out or did not work out? Right? We want to know how your feelings and your experience have changed you over time. That's the juiciness that everybody wants to know. Again, we're not looking for facts, we're looking for that human element. So, like I said, STAR method, not to bash on it. It's an amazing system. It's the foundations that you have to lay all your responses on. Right? You should never forget that, right? When in doubt, use the STAR method. But if you really want to flare it up and be memorable, you need to add that human element in there with WTF, wants, thoughts, and feelings. STAR method is only the structure. WTF turns that structure into a story that people are going to remember. So when do we use WTF? It's not going to work for all situations. It may work for the most of you because the most of you are in business, and business is a human-facing business, right? It's a human-facing industry. So feelings are going to matter, thoughts are going to matter, your values are going to matter, and so on and so forth. If you are applying for, I don't know, a mechanical engineering role, which I know nothing about, astrophysics, advanced mathematics, pure mathematics, I know nothing about that. If you're going for a job interview for those kind of roles, you shouldn't be listening to me. I'm not going to be able to help you out, right? Because that's when the STAR method is probably going to help you out, right? They just want to know how you did it, what techniques you have used, what kind of process you have used to solve that problem, and that's all they care about. But if you think that you're going to be applying for a role that is for the people, created by the people, job descriptions created by the people, hired by the people, interviewed by the people, right? That's when you should always turn your responses into a story using the WTF method so that it stays in people's minds a little bit more. Now, the last piece of advice before I let you guys go on a break. You guys could probably come up with a pretty decent response using AI. Whether ChatGPT is your go-to, Gemini, Claude AI, whatever it is. Some of you may have even used ChatGPT already to submit some of the job applications. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, but I know that some of you have already done that, especially when it comes to writing your resumes, right? Cover letters? Probably. That's when you can and probably should in this future use generative AI because it does what humans used to do one by one at a mass scale, and it does let you know. If we were hunters of jobs before, and if we were gatherers of information before, we had to do everything by ourselves, one by one. Now AI does all the hunting and gathering for us, tells us what's the best way to move on forward, so you should probably listen to it. That raises the question then of whether the job market is cooked or not. Am I saying that right? That's not my lingo, to be honest with you, right? But these are the comments that I've been reading on YouTube, which I understand you guys don't even use anymore. I'm dating myself, right? The job market is cooked. With these amazing AI tools that are out there, you can totally just get away with AI-generated responses that tell you exactly what to say in our interviews, and that's going to be fine, right? Job interviews with AI are like a walk in the park. I don't have to practice. I don't have to prepare. I just need to pay $2.99 a month, use this AI, and it's going to generate all my responses for me. AI did my whole interview. Work smarter, not harder, right? We're not using AI because we're dumb. We're not using AI because we don't know how to use it. Trust me, professors use it all the time. I know because I do, right? But it's really about how you use it. And this is not how you use it. Hopefully this video plays okay.
Okay, before I ask the next question, can you share the screen right now? Shut the push in just a second. Let me see here. Okay. Can you see this? Okay. What about programming? Sure. Well, another problem-solving aspect of programming is like solving problems which are really engaging and satisfying. Programming allows.
What do you think? Another example.
Awesome, that's a very good question. I will use Beyondlab queries for query statement, which separate SQL knowledge from data inputs. I also do implement data evaluation, escaping special characters, enhance security by turning it out to that data, not pseudo code. Good. Next question.
No, not good. Not next question. That video makes me cringe every single moment that I watch it. But because I do lectures on this, the ads keep showing up. It's in my algorithm now. I can't help it. I keep seeing it day after day, and it just makes me cringe so much because I am in that hiring position now. I hire people. I go through interviews. In fact, I just went through some job interviews today with some of our applicants. And guess what? I reviewed some of their pre-recorded responses that they've submitted. Ugh. So bad. And I feel bad because I hire for U of T, which means these are U of T students. Supposedly the smartest students in the country who came to the greatest university in Canada, and they still use disgusting, bad AI responses. And they submit that hoping that they would get hired or get a chance at a second interview. No. Would you hire those people? Because I don't know what they said. Yes, they had subtitles. I read it a few times. But is it memorable? No. Personally, I think it's partially because AI can't really tell what the personalized human side of your responses would look like, right? AI doesn't know what you wanted in that moment. Only you would know that. Yes, you can tell it, but it's not going to be described in the same way. It's not going to be described in the best way. It's not going to know what you were thinking in that moment. It can guess because it does have access to metadata of every kind of blog that was ever written, every Reddit post that was ever written, and it can try and fake it, right? Oh, a human in this situation would probably feel this way, but it's probably not going to represent your experience and your thoughts, let alone your feelings. My partner doesn't even know how I feel sometimes. I don't even know how she feels sometimes. And we're human to human, and we still don't understand each other, right? How would an AI know then? Let me actually demonstrate this, right? When I was a student, I had a situation where I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't matter. I tried very hard to ace this one exam, right? And I studied really hard, but when it came time for my actual exam, there was a guy, another Asian guy, a guy that I didn't know right next to me who blatantly cheated on that exam. He got caught, and then for some reason, I also got into trouble. I didn't do anything, I swear. Cross my heart, right? Still got into trouble. I had to defend myself, and I had to explain that I had nothing to do with the cheating that was happening in that moment, that I was furious, I was offended that I was even accused of cheating in that moment. I was shaking, right? I was so livid. And I felt like I was being targeted because of my race. You guys will probably be able to relate to what I just said. But if I told you, if I picked a random person and say, hey, I just told you my story, I want you to tell that same story as if you went through that experience. You probably won't be able to do it. You'll be able to replicate some of the sentences that I said. You may be able to say that I was livid because that's what I said. I was furious. I was very offended. I felt like I was being targeted because that's what I said, right? You can even use some of the other words to describe that experience, but you wouldn't know what that felt like unless you were there. And that probably goes the same for all your experiences so far. Like I said, you guys are not your resumes. You guys are not the work experiences and the action verbs that you have listed. What you have thought in that moment, what you have felt in that moment, it's in there. It's inside you. You just haven't put it onto your resume because that's not the place for it. But you know where is the place for it? Interviews. When you're face to face with another human being. That's when you're supposed to tell that story, and ain't nobody gonna do it better than you. Because only you know what happened, only you know what it felt like, only you know what went through your mind in that moment. So do not expect an AI to be able to replace you, because if you believe that your experiences, your thoughts, and your feelings are replaceable with AI, then you probably will be.